All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out to our panel this early morning. I'm Ellen Holland. I'm the senior editor of Cannabis Now, and I have an incredible panel of dynamic, innovative, activist, changing women up here today. We are doing Women Who Make Change in the Industry. So I thought we could start by everyone just introducing who they are and why they're in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll start. Hi. Oh, look at this lovely panel. Very excited to be here this morning. My name is Lindsay Robinson, and I'm the Executive Director of the California Cannabis Industry Association. I have been working with CCIA as the ED for about a year and a half and was on the board of directors for the 2 years prior to that. But I've actually been in the cannabis industry for about 15 years. Prior to working with CCIA, I worked with the Marijuana Policy Project, which is a national organization that works on cannabis policy reform on both the state and federal level for both adult use and medical. So I've helped run campaigns across the US to change marijuana laws, and focusing mostly on fundraising. That's been my background. I've actually only ever worked for nonprofits, mostly in a fundraising capacity, because once you get into that, that's usually that's where you stay if you have any skill set in it. And I do very much enjoy it. But yeah, I've been working for quite a long time in this industry, and I'm very proud of the growth that we've had over the last several years, and I'm excited to talk more with all of you today. Thanks.
What an honor it is to be here today as women in this beautiful time. I'm Saline Osman. I'm so excited to be here. I've been in the industry just shy of 2 decades. I started the very first cannabis delivery service in Venice Beach, California in 1999. I've run legally and illegally for many years. Thank you, Swami. Thank you. I'm here to continually show up for this beautiful plant that we all love so much. This beautiful industry got me in as an owner and founder and runner of the delivery service, but it's established some great relationships, which is grown into this beautiful women's movement called the Ganja Goddess Getaway. And I am co-founder and CEO of the Ganja Goddess Getaway, which is a beautiful women's movement where we facilitate a 3-day, 2-night getaway for women of all ages, shapes, colors, sizes, economical backgrounds, everyone's included, to come and just escape and be in a safe place for women to enjoy cannabis as a spiritual and creative tool to tap back into you so that you can be the nurture that this beautiful plant brings to us for yourself, for your loved ones, and the community. So I am the co-founder of Ganja Goddess Getaway.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Haroon, and I'm co-founder and CMO of Vapium Inc. We are a technology-based company based out of Canada, and very excited about the fact that next week we're about to go recreationally legal, and it's going to freedom. It's a great time to be Canadian for any Canadians that are in the audience. We have developed, our flagship brand was Vapium, and we now are a house of brands focusing on the trifurcation, as we see it, of cannabis being wellness, recreational, and medicinal, launching our medical brand this year at CES. And I'm thrilled to be part of this panel to be able to give a voice to the fact that women in technology need to be heard, and there are a lot of smart people up on this panel, so I'm excited to see what comes out of this morning.
Wow. Hi, I'm Nikki Listretto, and I've been getting high since 1969.
Yes.
And I'm proud of that. And I think I realized right away that this was some medicine, even though I didn't know it. It's always made me feel good. And I've been in the business of cannabis, and I can say this now because who cares? I've been saying it probably since 1970. I've been selling cannabis. And we are now, I'm a co-founder of Swami Select, which is a brand of cannabis. We're very up in Mendocino County, where we grow the best cannabis in the world. We have the best conditions for that.
I agree.
We are very proud of it. And so I started a brand many years ago. Swami and I kind of did it as a fluke. And it just turned into something that actually has become quite a brand. want to promote all of Mendocino County to come up with us and to really see that craft cannabis survives. We're talking about cannabis that's grown hand-watered, hand-trimmed, hand-packaged, done with love, done with care, living soil, regenerative techniques. And this is the cannabis that's going to make you feel good and continue to be a medicine for you whether you know it or not, just like when I was 14 years old. It just is going to help you be better. So I'm here to always promote cannabis. It's my passion in life. I've also been a journalist for many years. I was at the San Francisco Chronicle and at KRON TV, and it certainly has helped to bring that knowledge to what I'm doing. I've also built sacred spaces on the side. So it all comes together because it's a sacred plant. We honor the great goddess that produces it and grows it for us with love and intention.
The ganja got it.
Yes.
This won't come out. I'm Tiffany Chin, and I work with Leaf by Snoop. I am one of the 3 co-founders, the only one of which is a woman. I have not had as much experience in the market and the space as many of these other women, but I've been in the industry for maybe 4 or 5 years, in the entertainment space for a little bit longer, and so I've been able to bring the experience of celebrity and influence into the cannabis space and kind of see how that permeates and penetrates, not just with women, which we need to work on, but with different ages, different races, and all that sort of thing. So I'm working really closely with Snoop now for a social justice kind of project that we're working on and getting a lot of the incarcerated individuals who have been put in jail for nonviolent crimes, even though now the tide's turning and we're moving towards a legalization process, how to get those individuals out and about and productive members of society. So that may or may not be directed towards women, but I feel very fortunate to be kind of heading that up with one of the biggest people in weed. Yeah.
Exciting, incredible. You guys are all really passionate and super smart, so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. I'm wondering if we can talk about why you think it's important for women to hold leadership roles in the cannabis industry.
I can start off on that. I think it's important for women to hold leadership roles in every aspect of our society and our economy and our world. Because we are half the population, if nothing more than that. I think that cannabis is undergoing a really amazing transformation, and I'm really honored to be a part of it and to see that aspect of the industry growing. I remember when I first started going to cannabis conferences in the mid 2000s, 2007, 8, 9. A lot of them were held in Las Vegas, and a lot of them were centered around glass blowing and that kind of the ancillary side of the cannabis industry. But for a really long time, cannabis had been underground, obviously, and it had been sold, cannabis pipes or marijuana pipes or paraphernalia had been sold in porn shops, which often, were off the side of the highway and in a basement somewhere, and it had been intrinsically linked with the porn industry. And so we would go to these conferences where we were, hoping to change laws so that we could not only promote an industry, but also help reform the prison industrial complex and keep people out of prison for this plant, which was really the main motivation for my work through the last many years. And there would be women at these events with, full body paint of, totally nude, but with body paint, with cannabis leaves, and it felt like they didn't necessarily have a say in how they were being represented, and that there was only this really narrow margin that they could participate in, right? So they became booth babes. And there's a way to be empowered in that if that's what you choose, but because that was really the only aspect that we were seeing there weren't a lot of female CEOs. All of the major policy reform organizations were led by men for the most part, with the exception of Steph Shear from Americans for Safe Access, who's a pioneer in her own right. And so it just became really apparent that if we were going to have policy change, there also had to be this kind of cultural shift. because unfortunately our country does stigmatize the porn industry. They do stigmatize the cannabis industry, and I've just seen so much progress in the last several years. CCIA's executive director is a female, our senior policy director and lead lobbyist is a woman, our president of the board is a woman, and I think it's just really important to have a diverse perspective, and not just women. Obviously, we want to hear from people who have been formerly incarcerated. We want to hear from minorities who've been in communities that have been particularly hit hard by the war on drugs. I think that celebrating diversity is incredibly important. It enriches our perspective, it gives us strength, it lifts us up, and I'm just really proud of actually where we've come. And if folks want to choose to be a booth babe, I'm just hoping that it's actually their choice. But I'm excited to see that we've expanded the opportunities.
So I think we've come to a point that I think for a while now, women have not been told what they want, but we've been able to express what we want to the creators or to the people providing products to us. And so I think that time for cannabis is now as well. And over 50% of the consumers are now female. I'm sure you guys have seen this trend. We are the largest growing demographic in terms of consumers, as well as in specific types of consumption products like edibles and cartridges and vaporizers. So I think it's really important to have leadership with female representation, because otherwise your business, whether it's a nonprofit or a vape company or products company, you're not going to get your target market into your store or buying your products if you don't have a female giving that drive and idea and vision forward. So I think that's one of the really biggest reasons why a lot of our leadership has female representation, and we love to work with other groups and companies that also see the merit in that. So we're all going to connect later.
Yeah, I'd like to say something for another reason why women are very appropriate to be working in cannabis is that it's a female plant.
Yes.
And so she speaks to us and we speak to her. And there's really a psychic connection there. I mean, there's some amazing women cultivators now that we know. And I also want to say, I mean, I sit on several boards and all of these cannabis organizations that have come up. It tends to be the women that get the work done. I mean, I just keep noticing this. Who shows up at the meetings? It's the women, And we're the ones that are really out there determined to get the grassroots work done. The guys might be doing all the flashy stuff out there, but we're getting a lot of that grasswork done. And I think it's just because we are women, we recognize this plant. She's our sister, and so we work together. Yeah.
I absolutely echo Nikki's comments, absolutely. I've been working with this plant for some time, and with this women's movement, it is a beautiful, synergetic, beautiful relationship. She nurtures us. We are the nurturers of this planet, ladies. We have a direct communication with her, and for me, I feel very empowered by that. And this is the time that she's giving us. What an perfect time in our history to show up and represent her, how it represents us as a whole, as women.
So a couple of things I'll just sort of add onto the panel. One, you're absolutely right. Body parts don't sell product.
That's right.
And so from the beginning of when we started our business, I was absolute and resolute that it would be about the education and awareness, about the fact that this is an investment in your lungs, and you were coming to us to start your journey and to develop a different relationship with cannabis. It's about medicating. It's not about intoxicating. It's about developing conscious consumption and figuring out what your relationship with the plant is. And we hope to do that by means of technology. I think that it's amazing to hear about what your initiatives are with Snoop because of the fact that it's bringing families back together. So bringing all of these men who have been incarcerated for smoking a joint. Like, that to me boggles my mind. There are people that are walking the streets. There are people that are in the highest places in government in your country. I'm so sorry to say that, whatever you feel, but that are guilty of crimes so far beyond smoking a joint or having 3 grams on them. Like, don't waste our tax dollars. Don't waste your tax dollars. Like, free these people. Let them be part. I think also about the fact that women are inclusive. We are peacemakers. We are the ones who are saying, come and join our companies, come and be part of this, like come and have a voice and bring your innovation and bring your ingenuity, because of the fact that this is the time. Every skill that sits among this panel, as well as that's in the audience, has a place within our industry, and I think that's amazing because of the fact that it's giving jobs, it's giving opportunities to people that, you know, I heard somebody yesterday that says, I'm just a mom, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're raising the future. You're not just a mom. One, you gave birth, and that's what we do as women. So the fact that we were ever relegated, you know, is something that's always boggled my mind. I don't understand why, you know, we have to have that conversation, but we do. And it's amazing that there are people that are amongst, you know, our peers that are championing this. So that's my 2 cents.
Excellent, thank you, ladies. Just for me, as the head of a national publication, I always get pitched, hey, why don't you do a women's issue? And my response is always, we're going to put women in every issue. Right. I'm not doing a women's issue. Right. Like, women are in every issue of cannabis now. So I thought we could talk about who your role model is in this space. I've been really lucky to work with a lot of great women. Jane Klein is at this conference somewhere, Ed Rosenthal's publisher. She is a powerhouse and a really great person to know and to look up to. And I just thought we could talk a little bit about who are your role models.
I can start. Yeah, so Steph Shear, that I mentioned earlier, is an activist who's worked in this space for a really, really long time on advocating on behalf of patients, and I think that she has been really inspirational and just has helped turn the tide in so many states across the country. You know, she's got a real fire. She's feisty as hell, and she really stands up for what she believes in, and most of the time that's standing up for people who can't necessarily advocate for themselves. I don't know how many of you know Jamie Lewis, who founded Mountain Medicine in Colorado. She's been a pioneer in the industry for a really long time, one of the first female-owned edible companies in the country, and she also was a longtime advocate in San Francisco and used to make edibles and give them away and sell them illegally when there really was just kind of a hodgepodge of an illegal industry for medical in San Francisco, which is the birthplace of the modern medical cannabis movement. And you know, most of the folks that she was working with were suffering from complications with HIV and AIDS, and cancer patients who were just trying to access medicine and were still being persecuted for that. So those are two women that come to mind for me that really kind of stuck their neck out originally and really, you know, first and foremost advocated for patients and for access to the plant as medicine.
Me next?
Sure.
Okay. I struggle with this one, I want to say, because there's so many people to look up to, and I'm way more like on the ground, organic, and I don't know the big old CEOs. But I'll have to say 2 women come to mind, and that is, I gotta love my female farmers, you know, our female farmers. And Lisa Marie Gonzalez, the Hog's Breath Farm in San Diego is like pure love and light, and what she puts into her plants, and the next level of no-till gardening, and how she loves her plants and how she blesses it, and how we all get to feel that love through her plants. You can't discredit the beautiful love that goes behind a female farmer. And then the other woman I would absolutely have to bring, comes to mind, is Felicia Carbajal. And she's an LA fixture, yeah. And she's all about social justice, and she fights a good fight in a city that's so corrupt and so behind the scene right now. And she's really making big waves. She's in Lady Bud's documentary, and she's just an amazing woman in Los Angeles fighting for social equity.
So I have 2. One that is Canadian, and her name is Abby Roach. That's obviously a moniker. She's an amazing advocate, ally. She has run her own lounge for the last I'm going to age myself now. I think it's been 25 years. So I remember in high school, it was the one place that you could go and meet like-minded people, and that was the time where the technology didn't exist. So we could smoke joints amongst people that were like-minded and super chill. And Abby got the best news yesterday that Canada is going to be legalizing not just dispensaries, but lounges.
Yes.
So that's amazing, amazing news, yes. Wow. And so we can bring, a sophistication and style to it where these are, safe spaces to come and consume and learn. So I'm still super thrilled for Abby because of the fact that she's been a renegade for Toronto for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And then the second one is a practitioner that works out of Colorado who right now cannot be named, but she is absolutely amazing and has healed a lot of people, I'd say like thousands of people, and actually helped us heal a family member. And we coated him in cannabis head to toe and brought it to different locales to make sure that he could survive, and now he's 3 years cancer-free. So I believe that cannabis is medicine, and women are being able to bring that to light, which is awesome.
Oh, I love this question. I mean, I can think of so many. But I'd like to start off with saying, up in Mendocino County, there are women that were pioneers there in the 70s. And I totally respect these women that came out to live in a place where there was really nothing up there. And they had to come up with the most basic kind of gardening techniques and worked out their little witchy skills to figure out how to make tinctures and everything else over the years. These are some really hard-working women that were the true pioneers. And I have complete respect for them. And there's a few that come to mind, but they're not permitted, so I won't say their names. The other person is sitting right in this room, in the front row, and that's Jude Tillman. And this woman is a woman that has devoted her life to social justice on so many levels, as well as fighting for cannabis nonstop to the point of working herself to the bone. And that is somebody, and at the same time building a business and having the skills to actually run a business, not, keep her taxes together and all that stuff. I don't know how she does it, but I really admire you, Jude. And I would like to say that. Thank you.
So in the industry, I have a friend named Nicole Smith. I'm sure you guys know who she is. She started Mary's Medicinals out in Colorado, as well as in Denver, and I believe in many, many other states that I can't all name. She has since been picked up by Evo Labs and works with them as their head extractor, and I think that she really revolutionized a completely new and different, or at least at that time, I guess, the topicals market, right? So people had, salves and lotions, but no one had like a patch that you could just put on similar to a nicotine patch that would kind of get you high in a way that didn't make you smell, or it wasn't obvious. It was easy to just put on a plane if you're taking a 13-hour flight. And she was just such an excellent businesswoman, and in the way that she dealt with new clients and new potential partnerships. She was always super open and friendly, and I just enjoyed understanding how she works in the industry. So actually, my other one was actually not in the industry, and I'm sure you guys all know who she is, but Anna Wintour, mostly just because of the way that she was able to bring diversity into the fashion world for the last 30, 40, however long she's been in this industry. And she's been able to really prop up not just women, but minorities, bridge gaps between what is considered to be like fashion and, it's not super serious, and politics and other things like that are really serious and that we should all care about. So I thought that what she does in another industry would be great to see happen in our industry as well. So I wanted to say, different industry, but still. Yeah.
Awesome. I've been really lucky at Cannabis Now magazine that not only our content, but our ads are straying away from what we've been talking about a little bit, which is the boobs and the buds and the sexuality selling things. And a big part of that is the vision of Eugenio Garcia. He's sitting over there, our publisher. Thank you so much, Eugenio, for making a real magazine dedicated to this plant. I just wanted to talk to you ladies about how do you ensure your brand message kind of appeals to everyone, and strategies that you use to make sure that women are not objectified in your advertising or in your marketing materials in terms of communicating your message.
So this is actually kind of a big deal for us because there's a lot of limitations, as I'm sure Lisa knows, in Canada with advertising regulations, as well as in the United States, just because we want to be really careful with the precarious federal kind of climate here. And what we did was we employed, our entire design team is a team of 6 women. And they were the ones who created our entire look, packaging, design, logo. And they worked closely with Snoop, and Snoop said, I want this to speak to women, not just my fans who are predominantly men, but women of all ages, sizes, races, and everything. So when we came out with the brand, we made it seem really, it's like white with a gold leaf on it. It's really clean. It definitely feels a premium. And we were able to use these women who have been in the industry, in the design industry, the packaging industry for over 40, 50 years, and bring their expertise into cannabis, because that's how we should look at this space, right? Not in a way that it's a vice or a drug or just medicine, which it is, but actually as a product that we can all use in our everyday lives, like a regular consumer product good. So in that fashion, we don't actually put any women on our ads. There's no objectification. We don't have booth babes. There's, the only booth babe is me, and I'm there as like the co-founder and brand representative, and I'm not, yeah. So in that way, there's leadership up top that really makes sure that the messaging focused is not objectifying. And I think that's really important for how we move forward as women in this space.
I love it.
Well, certainly with Suave Select, we might have a guy in a skirt, but it's like, what can I say? He's not a babe that way. So it's a little different. But we do have a tremendous amount of women. We have our director of communications is a woman. We have primarily women helping us on our crew, absolutely. Because as I said before, women tend to get things done. And I come from a family of 4 sisters and no brothers, and we get a lot done. And so I have a lot of faith in women, and we work with a lot of women. And as far as the objectification, I'm the woman part of the team that gets out there, and I feel I probably project more of a motherly, even though I'm not a mother, it's probably just because of the gray braid, but it's also trust that comes along with it, and I think that's very, very important, to give out the feeling that, women are here to nurture you, like you keep mentioning, Celine, to be your trusting guide in this process. You can come to us and feel safe around it. What we're going to tell you is going to be for your good. We're working for you. So I think that really does help. And, in some of our advertisements, we might have a nice-looking young couple enjoying a joint, but it's always just that. Yeah.
So when we started, it was really about talking about wellness. And so it was about the enjoyment and the medicating of. And so one of the things was, yes, coming back to it, I was the only booth babe as well, and always in a suit. And basically, it was, probably up to here and down to my ankle, much to the chagrin of some of the other, companies. But, and because I don't believe that body parts sell technology. And so, that extends to the point where we don't pinkify stuff. So, it's... Now, okay, caveat, I might be coming out with a rose gold one, but it's hot, so that's different. That's not pink, it's rose gold, so it's different. But we don't pinkify. Before this, I made kids' toys. I made robots with my partner. And before that, I worked for the UN, and specifically with refugees. So inclusion and empowerment has always been a common thread. And so I've seen women who have been objectified and vilified, and I could never do that. And I also don't think that there's longevity to it. Mm-hmm. I think that it's, being a nurturing plant, being something that can either, with conscious consumption, it's a wellness tool, it's medicine, or it's something that can replace your glass of wine and give you life. Alcohol kills your liver. Sorry, anybody who's in the beverage industry, but it's true. It kills your brain. If you medicate properly, it's something that's going to extend your life. It's going to give you peace. And so also our design team is also women. So I love the fact that, I love the fact that you guys have all women, because of the fact that it's something where when we started, the one piece of criticism that I constantly faced was, your first product looks very masculine. And I said, I totally get that, but you can also vape in the shower. So as much as it's masculine, you can vape in the shower. So if you're hiding from your kids or your husband, there you go, or your partner, whomever, you're able to go and use that as a tool. And so, extending beyond that, we need to make, and how we approach it is making tools that are inclusive, that that have a nice hand feel to it, that are easy to use. Our second brand, and not to give too much to that, but basically what my partner did and what his challenge was to bring concentrates into women's lives. And I love this product so much, I cannot even tell you, because of the fact that there's no torch, it's not scary, it's taking it from stigma to sophistication, and women deserve sophisticated products and sophisticated choices. Yeah. And that's what we're up here doing, is really bringing you choice.
For me, my whole mission in life is to truly destigmatize and raise the experience of the cannabis experience, just elevate it. And so through all of my work, through my delivery service, it's always been all women own and run, and I love to work with women. And it's very easy with the Ganja Goddess Getaway, because it's an all-women's movement. So the most important thing for us is to be authentic, and our most authentic selves. And so our design team is women, and our marketers are women. And we don't try to pinkify it either. We just really want to be very diverse. And one thing that's very important to us is to always incorporate our 5 high standards. And they are radical self-love, inclusivity, empathy, good fun, and mindfulness, and that's a Ganja Goddess. So we take in consideration all of those 5 high standards when we do anything to put it out there into our community. So being our most authentic selves.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful tattoo as well. Our design team, also run by a woman. We just rebranded. I don't know if folks have had an opportunity to see the new bear. Do you like it? Yeah? Good, thank you. Yeah, it's a brilliant woman, Carolyn Dren, who is somewhere here, Canawise. If you haven't had a chance to get to know her, she's amazing and does phenomenal work. We're really proud to have worked with her on this last project. So we're a little bit different because we don't actually have a product to sell except for policy reform, which is always very sexy and exciting. I know you're all super jazzed about it. And obviously we still have a lot of work to do in California. We certainly were supportive of Prop 64, and we work every day lobbying in Sacramento to help change the laws in California, and it is not an easy lift. We have a ton to do still, but we're very motivated to get that done. I will say, one of the things that I really do appreciate about cannabis now is that, when I was a teenager and I was consuming cannabis, one of the only publications that we had was High Times. And if you all remember High Times in the early 90s, it was all women in bikinis. It still is. I haven't looked at it in a long time for this very reason. I always loved the ones of like the women in the grows wearing a bikini, because I don't know if you have been around mature cannabis plants, but they're sticky as hell. So then it's all over. Or the topless trimming circles. Have you all heard about this? Yeah. I'm like, that's some real bullshit right there. I'm just gonna say it. So I'm glad to see that as a whole the industry is growing and maturing, and we have smarter and thoughtful folks at the helm who are really thinking about not only, are we looking at growth in women who are purchasing cannabis, but we're also looking at They purchase, most of the health products for their families. So if we are committed to this idea, which I think as a culture and as a collective that we are, that this promotes wellness, it's an industry, but we also have to be incredibly mindful about it. I think we were really sloppy for a long time because we didn't have to be anything else. It wasn't legal. And so it was all sort of this, underground scene. And now we have an opportunity to elevate and raise up our collective consciousness, our appreciation for the plant, the businesses that we purchase from. That's huge too. I mean, if folks know of companies that they think are doing things well in the industry, find their products, purchase their products. We can do a lot with our dollar in that regard.
Excellent. So we've talked about it a little bit already tonight in our sense of our professional outfits and kind of how we carry ourselves in the space, but I was just wondering if you have any tips for networking within the cannabis space to share.
Be bold. I think that's don't be afraid, one, to ask, two, to say hello,
Sure.
to smile, right, to be friendly, because of the fact that for us at least, I mean, we're Canadian, so it comes with the passports, right? It's kind of true though. But it's really to go out there and say, you know what, this is a group of like-minded people, so you already have something in common.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what else you think. It's that you have a common place to start.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing basis for a new friendship, right? And the fact that, truthfully, like coming and sharing, if it's an edible, if it's, an experience. This sounds amazing, by the way. I'm like, when do we get to go? But to be able to cultivate new friendships and that should be the start, because of the fact that we're at a time in our lives and a time in space that we should work with people that we like and that we respect and that we, that we're growing together. The best quote that I've heard recently is, rising tides raise all ships. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely true. And so, one, obviously we start at the female level because of the fact that we're females, but to raise up men as well, and men that are like-minded, and then you beat the ones that don't agree, and beat the truth into them. But to get them so that we're all on with that same mentality and going forward. And I think that's sort of what I would say in terms of how to approach and to cultivate those kinds of relationships.
Yeah, I'd like to say that one thing I learned as a journalist is people love to have you ask them questions about themselves.
Yeah.
So just to always ask people, actually, and be honestly, sincerely concerned, obviously, and you ask a question and you listen to their answer, you look them in the eyes, and you remember that as best as you can, and it's just to have that actual involvement and taking it to a level. As women, we can be like men in the workplace. We can shake their hands and we can be tough, but we can also bring a certain level of softness to it that opens people up. And don't be afraid to show that softness of a woman, because you can be a soft and a strong woman at the same time. I really believe that.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Nikki was saying, what's everyone's number one subject that they know the best about?
Right.
Themselves, right? So if you keep asking them questions, they love to talk about themselves. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, if you give up a little bit of yourself, whether it's something personal or just connecting with them on a personal level, they will feel more comfortable with you, mm-hmm. which you can, if you're doing business, you can maybe take to advantage, or you can use in a more I want to get to know you, and they're opening up to you in a way that you can remember who they are, what their story is, and kind of move forward with how you want to work with them. So I love what you said in terms of, you can be soft and strong. You can be hard and soft, right? You can be both things at the same time and reflect who you are as a real person. Yeah.
I'll add in one little piece. I think that it's important there's a lot of events that happen in the cannabis space, and so it's important to kind of prioritize what you think aligns best with you and your company and your goals. CCIA, we do networking events and we host a big conference. And so I think if you haven't plugged into things that really resonate with you, I tend to not find the late night after parties to be the best place to network. Usually a lot of people don't remember that they met you the next day. So I tend to, gravitate towards things where I think there'll be, folks that are interested in potentially the same things I am, and really just kind of, just putting yourself out there in the most authentic way that you can, especially for folks who've been in the industry for a long time. I think that there are a lot of people who are entering into this space just in order to make a ton of money. They just can't wait to get super wealthy. And I find that if that's your only motivation, you're probably not going to be someone that I'm going to spend a ton of time with. I wish you the best of luck, but I think that one of the most unique and interesting parts about this industry is all of us, right? So our personal use history, maybe we've been arrested, maybe we've been incarcerated, maybe we've helped, found a brand, maybe we were cultivators. We all have this personal connection and this personal history with this incredible plant, and I think that's one of the most unique things that we can bring to the table, and hopefully great conversation sparks from that, and maybe even a partnership, or there's I think as long as we're bringing something authentic, that it goes a long way.
Excellent. We have seen a lot of changes, particularly in California this year. And I'm just wondering to hear from all of you, as the industry continues to mature, are you seeing more or less room for women in this space?
Much more. I think that because the space is just getting so much more legitimized, there's anything that you do that's not in the cannabis space, you can do in the cannabis space. If you're a scientist, you can be a scientist in the cannabis space. If you're marketing, if you brand, or if you do PR, you can do that in the cannabis space. If you're a writer, you can write in the cannabis space. Whatever you do, right? You can translate your skill set to grow and do amazing things in the cannabis space. So it's not even just women, but it's also in general, there's so many more jobs in this space, whether you're looking in Canada, or if you're looking in Colorado, which is a pretty mature market, or even out in Maryland, Massachusetts, where it's still the Wild East. I don't know. But, it's interesting to see that there's what is predominantly concerned or thought of as a very male-dominated industry is now really turning the tide, and I'm really enjoying seeing that happening now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely echo that. I get a ton of private messages every day. People are saying, you inspire me. I want to be in the industry so much. What do I do? What do I do? I said, what do you love to do? Because anything you love to do is available in the cannabis industry. Use your gifts and use them in the cannabis industry, because we need all those beautiful creative minds. We need innovative new ideas, and they don't have to be the old paradigm. We're here to shift that paradigm. We're here to bring a beautiful essence of this plant and represent her in the best case scenario. Being our most authentic selves, bringing our gifts to the table, will get the whole industry on board to a better experience, for sure.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that, I would imagine, being a realist, that it's probably going to be 50-50. I mean, in the long run, I don't know if there'll be more women as a whole in the cannabis, but I would like to think that the women are going to get paid the same as the men.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that the women are going to be treated the same. I think that'll happen.
Yeah, I think because we're building it right now, that we have more opportunity and we're more thoughtful about the process. I do get a little bit concerned about companies consolidating, because I think that there's less women running the really, really big companies. So that's something that I have a little bit of concern about, makes me a little anxious. But overall, I think there are definitely more opportunities, and hopefully they'll continue to grow and expand, but only if we do it in a mindful way, which is, because we're dealing with, shaping these laws right now, and really helping these companies grow in a way that they haven't been able to before, because some of them have been operating underground. Now we get to be more a stronger participation in that process.
I think from just one last thing to add is we've diversified our, our investment portfolio, and so that's been really exciting. So bringing on women, like basically dragging them into the industry and saying, you know what, so instead of just saying, hey, you can do this, be like, we need you, and here are spaces that are open to, to bringing in even mentorship. I had a conversation yesterday where one of the things that's happening, obviously in abundance, and I'm sorry if I keep droning on about Canada, but a lot of companies are going public. There's a ton, like an excess amount of money in Canada right now. So I feel for the underfundedness of America, which has never happened. So it's like, it's again, a time to be Canadian. And so bringing in, experts in other fields to be able to take these companies that are women-led through the process. Taking a company public is a huge undertaking. Starting a company is a huge undertaking. And so to be able to bring in that kind of expertise, I think is really what's exciting, and that there's, we're seeing growth and room there.
Excellent. I don't know if you guys are feeling it from the audience, but I'm feeling a lot of positivity coming off of these women up here and just radiating out into the world. So I wanted to ask, what excites you about the cannabis industry right now as our final question? What are you excited about coming up?
Everything. Everything about it. That I'm a Californian and that I get to see it come out of prohibition, because I get to stand up loud and proud and speak about what I'm the most passionate about, because I get to educate people about her incredible gifts, because I can be my most authentic self. It's a beautiful time in history.
I'm really excited to see whether or not, and I'm gonna hope when, my parents get into the industry. And by get in, I mean more just consume, right?
Sure.
They're getting a little older, and I think they're getting, my dad has a little bit of gout. My mom has some joint issues and knee issues, so I'm hoping that I can get them even just some CBD cream. But it's, they know what I do, and they know the industry, and they're very accepting, but not as accepting as everyone in this room probably is, right? So I want them to really understand and see what I see what we all see in this plant, which is that it's normal. It's a medicine. It's a plant. It was put on this earth with us. It's not some synthetic thing that we created in a toilet bowl, right? This is something that we need and want and have used for millennia. So that's something that I'm excited for, is the naysayers that are in the older generation kind of coming around and accepting the plant. Yeah.
I totally get that. Tell them it's fine. Actually, what really excites me is, because I come from a family that were gold rush pioneers here in California. We are this really is a pioneer situation. This is going to be in 100 years from now, my descendants are going to be looking at this going, whoa, that must have been so cool. Right. And it is so cool. It really is, to be making these legislation, to be working with, to making this entire industry grow out of nothing, something that we're passionate about, and be able to create it. How often do we get to do that in an industry? Mm-hmm. You just don't. So we're really fortunate to be in this time and place, open-minded to it, and taking it by the horns. Yeah.
Agreed.
What I'm most excited about is that the world going fully legal. And then beyond that, the acceptance and the application of cannabis as medicine. Working on understanding what a dose is, so that everybody in this room gets rid of all of their disgusting NSAIDs and every other piece of garbage that we buy from Walmart or Walgreens or whatever. Sure. I'm sure we can all open our cabinets in our bathroom or wherever you keep all of your bevy of medicines and say, okay, I have heartburn, or I have insomnia, and instead of reaching for that traditional, prescribed medicine that we pick up, Mary's Medicinals, because I can tell you that muscle rub is the best thing on the face of the earth. If you have any, I love it so much. So getting to that point where we apply for everything that ails us, cannabis.
I have kind of a professional hat and a personal hat on this one. Professionally, obviously, I help represent a lot of businesses in the state and advocate for policy change so that their businesses can function like any other business in the state and not be taxed out of existence and be able to pay their 280E taxes and have access to banking. And I think we are making progress on all of those fronts. I want to see the end of federal prohibition. That to me is just going to be huge. And I have to say, you know, California on January 1st of this year, like I cried. I was so emotional about all that we had done. You're inspiring me. I've never cried on a stage before, ever. Leave it to a bunch of women. Well, thanks. But really, like, I was so profoundly moved by what we had done and also just so acutely aware of how fucked up it still was. So, I mean, I guess it's job security for me in a way, but not one that I actually wanted. But really from a personal perspective, you know, like I'm still an activist at heart, and I spend most of my days advocating for people so that they can run their businesses, but, you know, just being able to let these people out of jail, that for me is good. Thanks for letting me get emotional in front of a whole group of people, and it's being filmed, which I'm probably going to regret, but that's okay.
No, I'm really proud of the dialogue that we're having here today, and I really think that in cannabis especially, I really see a union of women supporting women, and it's been really exciting to speak with you all. I think we still have a little bit of time if anyone has any questions.
Okay, here's a few.
Hi, my name is Becca Dubois, and I've got you beat by a year because I'm a founding member of the Marijuana for Lunch Bunch, Carberly High School section, and 1968. And who'd have thunk when I was out there on the field that I'd be doing accounting and taxes? Woo. That's what I do, but as a professional woman, there are a lot of networking organizations, and this is where I'd really like some help from anybody. There's NAWBO, which is National Association of Women Business Owners. There's Women in Consulting. There's a group that I belong to that are all CFO females that we send emails back and forth to each other. Oh, hey, I've got a controllership over here I need help with. I've got this I need help with. And if we can create like the International Association of Women Cannabis people, then I would really love for you to all join it, and if anybody wants to help me create it, please come and see me.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hello, I really want to thank everybody for what you contributed and all your work all these past years to get us where we are now. So thank you. I have two questions. First, I decided I want my place in the cannabis space to be in social equity. I want to help people get their lives back, get out of jail, and start making legitimate money for the industry they built. They worked, they are the repository of knowledge and experience. They deserve compensation. It should not just be very rich men in lots of multinational corporations. So I feel very passionate. I'm very passionate about fairness. So I would like to talk to any and all of you about any work I could do with you for that, to adjust that. And the second thing, I have really concrete questions about women in the industry. First, licensing. Like, how do we get more women-owned and operated companies to get the licenses? Because as I understand, women were on the front lines in LA to get legality. I came up here from LA. But only like 10 licenses were given out of like over 100 or something. I'm not sure the number, but I remember it was dismally low for women-owned and operated cannabis companies. The second thing is like labor, literal labor laws. I've heard all these stories, and I've seen where you walk into a dispensary and it's like chilly, it's cold.
Yeah.
And there's a girl in like a midriff or something really revealing, and I know this child looks uncomfortable. Yeah. And the only reason that happens is when your boss says, hey, show a little skin as a bud tender to get it, So I worry about that.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, what labor protections against exploitation in dispensaries are there specifically, for everybody, but for women and girls especially? I worry about these things. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, there is actually in the California state regulations, as far as cultivation, it says very clearly you cannot be naked in your garden. Men and women cannot show nipples. You cannot have pants that are lower than an inch above your pubic bone or something. I mean, it's very distinct. So as that carries over to dispensaries, I'm not sure. But there certainly should be an equal law that you do. I mean, any woman who has her boss tell her to do that should just tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
That would be like file a sexual harassment suit or something. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know,
Right,
I know.
yeah.
But that's where we have to start. You have to do it to start it. You got to sacrifice something to start that movement. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
and one of the interesting things too is now that we have a legal industry, it is regulated on the state level and the local level like any other business. Now we're still taxed at a different rate, and we still have some obstacles, obviously. But that is one good thing, is that especially if they've got unionized, which a lot of shops are heading in that direction. But there's a lot more protection for folks who are working for legal businesses than for not. So they can file complaints on that level.
It is a tremendous honor to be in front of all of you. My name is Shira Adler. I am an author, speaker, and instigator. I'm from New York. I do have a hemp-based CBD company, Holistic Medicine, and I'm a healer. I'm also an activist. We'll be speaking for Governor Cuomo in front of him on Wednesday as we push to legalize in New York. I work with Drug Policy Alliance and HIA and all the groups. I'm actually here on a book tour for my book, The ABCs of CBD. But as a woman, as the business side, why I came today, why I came for this panel, I've been approached now a few times by, no offense to my ascended brothers, the white men in suits, who are looking to step in and support my company, and then by the time we go from term sheet to all of a sudden they're the manager of my company, they appoint me as founder CEO. I'm like, no, hi, my company, I appoint you. I'm finding it difficult to go from where I've now grown a company to seeking that level of funding and support and business acumen. How do women still ascend? What recommendations do you have to find other incubator programs or other financial support? I want a female CFO. I want more goddess energy rising, because I'm not a CFO, but I am not letting go of the company that I have built.
I do, interestingly enough, for any of you who've heard of the ArcView group, which helps pair companies with investors and is really kind of a matchmaking service, and folks can have their feelings about that process, but set aside, they do have a female investor group within ArcView that is probably 40 to 50 women who are investing in the cannabis space and primarily investing in other female-owned companies. So that would be a great place to potentially start. There's some really amazing folks. Jean Sullivan, she's an investor from New York. She works with the ArcView group. She's your mentor. Oh, of course, you're a New Yorker.
Oh, you are lucky.
You're in good hands.
Lucky
So, it's really tapping into, a couple people, and then hopefully they expand your network out. But there's not a ton, there's not hundreds and hundreds. So the more that we can talk our cousins and sisters and aunts to come into the industry and invest. Yes. Okay, great.
And hold strong.
Yeah,
and also I'd say, I just want to say something for the guys, okay? They're not all bad. And some of them really, this can give us an opportunity. If you have a male who's interested in investing in you, think of it as an opportunity to teach him about women and how we operate. And because they're not all bad. I'm just trying to say there's some that are really compassionate and have a good heart out there, and they really are just interested also in this plant in the same level. So, think about what you would be able to teach them through that interaction.
I agree. I think that we are energy, and like attracts like. And when those big guys from other countries and around the world that have a lot of big, deep pockets come around and want to speak to me, what I focus on is heart-aligned projects. And when I'm looking in their eyes, I feel, is this somebody who's heart-aligned to this plant like I am? Then I'll talk to them and I'll go further. And if it's not, then I so appreciate meeting you and I probably won't talk to you again. And so you just stay in your good graces. You stay where your heart aligned and it will come to you.
In the entertainment industry, it's really difficult to make sure and weed out specific people who are maybe trying to get to something else and ulterior motives. So when you find someone that you trust, hit them up all the time for their connections, and then you'll start to become part of their circle, and then all of those spokes will also weed out. No pun intended, but you'll love the person that you meet. You might not like all the 10 people they introduced you to, but those people that they introduced you to, you're very confident this person trusts them. So there's just that reciprocity, like in terms of understanding how we feel about each other. Something in our office, which is to reflect what Celine just said, is we need a vibe, right? If we don't vibe with you, if I can't get a drink with you, if I can't smoke a joint with you, I'm not going to talk to you, right? Just like what you said, like I might not talk to you again, right? Like if I feel like I can really get to know you as a person, I'm pretty sure we can do some good business together. That's how I feel. Yeah. Yeah. Are we done?
Thanks so much, Lindsay, Celine, Lisa, Nikki, Tiffany. Incredible panel. We do see you in the back. Hopefully we can talk to you after the thing is over, but we are done for today. I hope everyone has a great rest of the New West Convention. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yes.